Yo, welcome back to the Hideout, you guys. I'm so glad you guys can make it. We are back with a Jujutsu Kaisen chapter review, chapter 171. Megumi versus Reggie continues, or more so, Megumi completely and utterly whooping Reggie's. Yes, Megumi isn't playing any games here, and this is what I've been waiting for. This is what I wanted to see, and we get so much more information on what Megumi's doing, what exactly is going on with domain expansions, and Reggie comes in doing stuff that we kind of thought we would see from him, but then having a little variation of it, which Gege always does. So we got to talk about that. We got to break that stuff down, and we got to get more and more into what's going on here at the Hideout with Jujutsu Kaisen. But before we get into it, as we always do, intro. First and foremost, this chapter definitely shown me that Megumi's domain, when it is complete, is going to be something of a menace. And I say that because if Gege felt the need to give him a place to use as a way of enclosing the barrier, but then it still be incomplete, even after showing us that crazy thing behind him, clearly Gege is just wanting to give hints at what the future could be, and we don't know exactly what he's doing yet. And there's a lot to unpack with that. So first and foremost, at the beginning of the chapter, when he does drop the domain expansion, right after Reggie tries to counter with something called an esoteric technique, which I love using that word choice of esoteric. That's great because it's a simple domain he's using, which was supposed to be the original version of simple domain. And we know simple domain was created by that dude who was back in the Heian era. So it's telling me either he created the wicker basket originally, and then all those other things, like the regular simple domain that we've seen and all those other things came from that, or maybe he created the simple domain thing from wicker basket, but I'm pretty sure he created the basket move, and that from there is what derived all the other simple domains, right? So with that being said, it makes me think of multiple things. Simple domain was supposed to be something that was like a hidden technique thing that could only be taught within people within his family. So either Reggie is an older sorcerer and is within that family, or he's a modern sorcerer that learned it from someone else, which doesn't really make sense. And now that I think about it, I thought Reggie's ability was like a modern day sorcerer thing, but if it's called a contractual redistribution or, redo, I forgot the exact name, this is anything with a contract. And contracts been around forever. You know what I'm saying? So it just makes me think maybe his ability is originally, an ability for the older sorcerers. And that he's just using it now in modern day with the receipts, which is why he probably doesn't care that he's running around using receipts on his body. But he doesn't look like an old sorcerer. He looks very modern day. Like he looks like a modern day dude. Like he just looks like, I don't know, like he doesn't give me old sorcerer look. So maybe he learned that move from someone else. Maybe he saw it. So I don't know. There's a lot of things with simple domain that make me go, okay, because even people like Toto and Yuki have it, and we don't know how they've gained it. So there's just so many different things. We know Toto gained it from Yuki, but how did she get it, So it's so many things that we don't have entirely packed in to know, but there's enough information out there that has me speculating and thinking. But let's continue forward. And when he uses the basket, it really does look like an actual basket and like an oval going in front of him. And all around him, and instantly Megumi sends the frogs at Reggie's feet and they grab him and it shocks him like, what? Like he's shocked. And then he, starts getting beat up, right? But the explanation before we get into him just getting beat up is so good because we see that Gege is trying to show us that there is a loophole, there is a workaround, there is a way to do things in the series with powers, with Jujutsu, that aren't so concrete. Like we really thought that a domain expansion is the end all be all, and then you got simple domain, right? So then now with this, you have Megumi not using a sure hit domain, and he's not using a domain that makes the opponent have to follow some type of rule or make it have or affect them with some type of rule or something of that nature. We have Megumi simply using his domain to amplify the potential and usage of his technique to 120%. And it's an incomplete domain. So it being an incomplete domain means that Megumi doesn't have the wherewithal to complete a barrier, to complete a domain yet. But he's genius enough, which is insane, to, since he can't fully grasp that yet, either because he's thinking too hard or really it's just a plot thing because Gege wants to give him the Sukuna domain, he's realizing, okay, well, I'm just going to use my domain to amplify my shadows. Okay, so within these shadows, since the technique that he's using is now amplified, he can attack Reggie straightforward and just use his technique even more. And then it's even further explained that because it's an incomplete domain, it cannot, since it's not using the sure hit techniques, simple domain and things of that nature cannot neutralize what Megumi is doing. We get the domain amplification example to expand on that, where Jogo and Hanami were using domain amplification on Gojo, and they could have tried to apply a sure hit technique to that domain, but that would be the point of that. That wouldn't have gained anything for them, basically. What they ended up doing was leaving room to be able to affect Gojo's technique itself using domain amplification, right? But like it says, simple domain and stuff, they don't neutralize techniques. Simple domains only nullifies the actual barrier, meaning it's going to nullify the domain's sure hit technique. If it's an incomplete domain, there's nothing it can nullify. It can only affect actual barriers and things of that nature. So now Megumi just opened up Reggie to get beat up. Like Reggie just there, like he could just get dropped now. And since he was caught off guard, he wasted energy and wasted time using the basket. So Megumi is in on there. And what's so wild about Megumi's ability is that what I wanted to see when we first seen Chimera Shadow Guard in the Origin of Obedience was more of the clones. Because after seeing him be able to block that from the dude and go through his head from the curse and he turned into a shadow and it not really affect him, I said, oh, okay, he can use shadow clones. That was just obvious, right? Now we're actually seeing him use the shadow clones. And that to me is what's just, that's how you keep your stuff consistent as a mangaka. You knew what you hinted at, right? And so now that's been hinted at, people know what's a thing. So when you actually go into him using domain more efficiently and he has more growth to him, he can actually fully complete these shadow clones. And now there's 3 of Megumi beating Reggie up. Everything is about him. Okay? Everything is about him. Everything matters because of him. Everything exists because of him. Danchou's Hideout exists because of Megumi. So you should subscribe to Danchou's Hideout because we're a Fushi Girl family here. Alright, back to the video. He's using the frog to grab at Reggie to pull him back in so that he can keep beating him up. And then, so that's when Reggie jumps, he goes back and he lets the knives go in a way to where they cut the frog's tongue. Cuts the frog's tongue, but Megumi is already coming up out his shadow from under his feet. Reggie summons a little weapon to try to fight and put cursed energy in it, but Megumi's already under him, grabs him by his leg and flings him. Okay, now this is what really blew my mind, is because I know Megumi was going to kill, it's like he's going for a kill. Like that's clearly what's going on here. But he swung Reggie into him or a clone, whichever one. I think it was the main one. The clone came out the thing, grabbed him, like I'm talking about full blown, grabs Reggie's leg, swings him toward OG Megumi, and Megumi has the sword. You literally see him cock back and go for. So as the clone is throwing Reggie toward Megumi, Megumi already done cocked back and he's coming in with the swing, and Reggie's like, oh my god, and he has to block it, like using one hand here and his arm here to block the swing because he was going for a decapitation. Because literally the sword is like, the way he's blocking it at, his head is here. He was going for a decapitation. He either was going to go through this man's head or he was going to go through the top of his dome. Like literally he was about to do him ugly, and then just kept beating him up. He blocks it, then the clone come around, elbow. it's just so wild to me. Like, how he just started moving so versatile, and because he's getting beat up, Reggie thinks to himself, oh, he isn't using a sure hit. This is just him amplifying his technique. This is worse than a sure hit domain. Worse, the man says. The man says it's worse, and he's right. Think about it. You have no counter. He opens an incomplete domain. All you can do is try to escape, but he doesn't got to worry about you escaping because he has a whole domain in this gym of catching you. So as you're trying to get out the gym, ain't really nothing you could do, because to get to the gym door, it's a shadow. To get through a window, it's a shadow. Like, it's nothing you can really do. So it's really dangerous, and he's a genius that he was able to apply his technique like that. He didn't use it and then go, okay, so what's my sure hit technique? He used it, then started beating Reggie up. Like, he just knew what he was going to use the technique for. And then so Reggie's all like, okay, I'm going to have to try to get around this. And Reggie's really strong. Like, I think people are not understanding how strong Reggie is. Like, he's definitely a supreme grade 1, if not just regular grade 1 sorcerer. And the way that he's able to analyze curse energy, analyze curse techniques, the way he's able to use his own curse technique in such a variety and variable of ways, he's a really strong sorcerer. And Megumi's giving him that work after being jumped by 4 people. 4 people. 4. He's going to pass out after this fight, but 4 people. He had 4 people, okay? So then Reggie to himself realizes a few things about Megumi. So basically this is what happens. Reggie's like, okay, I need to throw up these receipts. The whole time Megumi is fighting Reggie, if you notice, he's slashing off Reggie's receipts. Okay, he's slashing off Reggie's receipts. Anytime he's either going for a kill on Reggie's head or he's slashing off receipts, which is making less and less things Reggie can use. And Reggie's noticing this, so he throws the other 2 in the air. Megumi notices, he goes, those weren't ones that just fell off. He threw those off and sends Nue. Nue doesn't get to them in time, and Reggie thinks he's all smart, and he done smirked, and he done figured it out, because he's like, if this keeps up, he's going to beat me. Like, that's literally what he says. Like, if he keeps this up, summons elephant, and lets that water go, I'm screwed. There's nothing I can do. You get what I'm saying? So he's trying to stop that from happening. So he summons these cars, because all of where they're at right now is Megumi's shadow. The shadow that we usually see Megumi use, like for his little abyss stuff and all that and grabbing weapons, the whole gym is now that. So Reggie drops these cars to add weight, because he realizes from his own getting sucked into the abyss, which is insane, which means if Reggie is being sucked into this abyss and he has to use curse energy to reinforce his footing, that means Megumi can put people inside the shadow. Then it's confirmed that Megumi doesn't have a limited space within the shadow. Reggie has figured out that it's the weight that Megumi has to take on with the things that he puts in his shadow, because he realizes that because he doesn't carry much on him. He don't have that much weapons on him. He ain't got no secret nothing coming out the shadows, anything of that nature. He just got his little sword. So that puts all the pieces for Reggie together. Nobody else put all these pieces together fighting Megumi, but Reggie did it. Reggie's smart. Like, I want people to keep remember that. He is very, very smart, okay? So then he's saying to Megumi, you have 2.4 tons of weight now on you, because these cars are now sucked into the abyss, basically. So now I'm just going to keep summoning items and use the incomplete domain against you and make it to where all the weight keeps falling on you. And then Megumi acts like he's distraught and then smiles and goes, you're missing something. Well, before we even get to that, after my mans did him like that, way in the beginning when he summoned the domain, Megumi going, where'd your smirk go? That was great. Or he said something like, why'd you stop smirking? Something like that was great, fantastic. But back to where we are actually at. He looks at him and goes, but you're missing something. A domain is still a domain. There's shadows on the ceiling too. And then Max Elephant comes falling out of the sky and falls directly on Reggie. And Megumi goes, let's see who falls from weight first. Reggie. And I think that is so wild, because the boy has 2.4 tons. So of course he's using cursed energy to have the extra strength and stuff like that, but 2.4 tons is now weighing on him, right? His response is, okay, here's a 7-ton elephant. Here's a 7-ton elephant for you. The average elephant is 7 tons. So here's a 7-ton elephant for you. Max elephant for you. Let's see who goes through it first. And Reggie's looking as it lands on him, his face is like, oh my God. And the shadows splash in the air with shadow stuff. It literally splashes in the air. It looks like water, but it's shadow. And all that splashes in the air up. And it's kind of looking like, what's the name again? When he broke into Dagon's domain. It kind of looks like that again to a degree. But that spread is just gives me chills. Just him looking like that, like it's above you too. It was good. The whole chapter just was fantastic. No misses. Gege all hits. Gege all hits. Megumi weak. I love it. I can't wait. I can't wait for next week. Next week's going to be amazing. I already know it. Reggie getting put in a body bag. The one thing I will say, though, that I want to speculate and talk about with Megumi when it comes to his technique, back to that weight stuff, is that he can put people in his shadows. Like, that was just confirmed. That was just confirmed. He can put people in his shadows. The only issue would be he needs to be able to carry their weight. So Megumi need to hit the gym. He need to do what he need to do and start throwing Yuji in them shadows. He need to start throwing Yuji in them shadows. He need to go find Toji's body and see if he can do some type of... It is a whole lot of work. It's a whole lot of work that can be done. Gumi is nice. The kid is dangerous. His potential is off the charts, okay? And I'm definitely going to have to do a video breaking down this incomplete domain and just the effects of it and why it's so different and just how much has expanded now that we know about domain and domain expansions and domain amplifications and all that other stuff. It's just really cool stuff, really good info. And of course, here at Danchou's Hideout, we're going to get into it for you guys. We're going to break that down. So, like I always say, if you like this content, if you want more from me, if you're first time here, make sure you hit that bell icon, that subscribe button, and that like button. We need to give the Hideout some love. The algorithm don't show me that much love, I don't think. So help me out, you guys. I would really appreciate that. All right. And also join the Danchou Hideout Discord. People are in there now talking, hanging out, doing different things. I try to be as active as I can, but don't be mad at me if I'm not too active. But if you guys are in there, I'll be in there and talk whenever I can. So let me know. All right, you guys. But it's your boy Danchou. Peace.